I'm Arthur Erickson, reference librarian at Greensboro Public Library. I'd like to talk about using our book collection to enhance any creative writing exercise. I'm a huge geek and an avid enthusiast of classic, tabletop, pen and paper role-playing games, such as Dungeons & Dragons. Role-playing games are a form of collaborative storytelling governed not only by a set of rules, but also by the fictional reality within which the stories occur. RPGs have much in common with novels. Fictional stories also take place within a made-up reality. They can be set in the contemporary real world, or in a futuristic science fiction setting, in the historical past, or in a completely made-up fantasy setting. My favorite gaming genre is sword and sorcery style fantasy, with a tilt towards historical realism. I'd like to take you along on a thought exercise about how one might go along planning such a game. On the west coast of Italy, in the real world, is a body of water called the Tyrrhenian Sea. For a few centuries before the Common Era, we're talking about maybe 300 to 600 BCE, the Phoenicians, Greeks, and Etruscans vied for control over the West Italian coastline, nearby islands, and the resources found there. Rome had not yet become a dominant power, but was about to begin its ascension. These three groups were in many ways quite distinct, linguistically, religiously, artistically, and so on, but they were also very much part of the broader Mediterranean ancient world to which they all belonged. I learned a whole lot about them from books at the library. The Greeks were steeped in classic epic tales, such as Homer's Iliad. The golden age of early Greek philosophy and scientific inquiry was happening in real time. The Phoenician traders and colonists originated from the Levant on the eastern Mediterranean, and, while they followed their own distinct religious traditions, had close communication with the Jewish kingdoms and appear in Old Testament stories. Less is known about the Etruscans, but their history too is full of rich detail. All these groups were in contact with other peoples and nations of the ancient world. They made alliances with each other and often broke them. They engaged in piracy. Their religion and mythology were full of epic gods, heroes, and monsters. In short, all the elements of a dynamic fantasy setting are to be found, rich in political intrigue, adventure, and so on. And that's just from 3 books, supplemented with bits and pieces of another dozen. Our ancient history collection contains about 300 titles. Overlapping information could come from mythology, technology, animals, art. There are tens of thousands of nonfiction books here at the Central Library. Tens of thousands. Here are some of the role-playing games I have in my home collection that cross several genres, from historically real to quite fantastical. We have numerous books in the library that would provide creative support for any of these games. Of course, running a role-playing game, just like writing a story, doesn't have to be tied to reality at all. But many writers and gamers find their experience enriched by exposure to new ideas and research. Whether you're a geeky enthusiast like me, or any kind of creative, I bet you'll find lots to dig into here.